Welcome to Highfalutin Low Carb, the weekly web series where we find and test the best low carb recipes this crazy internet has to offer. Today, we're going to be wrestling with a dish so oddly named that it's almost embarrassing to say. Get ready for Crack Slaw. This one-pot dish is a beloved and apparently addictive weeknight staple of many in the online low-carb community. Consisting mainly of cabbage and ground beef along with some Asian flavorings, Crack Slaw is massively popular online. So much so, there's even a recipe for it on food.com. And it's called Crack Slaw. So today, here in the Highfalutin headquarters, we're going to pit the traditional ground beef recipe against a second contender, Chicken Crack Slaw. Now who's going to win this epic battle? Stay tuned and find out. Okay guys, so as you know, we're going to pit the chicken against the traditional beef recipe. And normally you would brown the ground beef and then add your ingredients, add the slaw or your cabbage. I'm going to use Bag's cabbage today, Coleslaw mix, because this is supposed to be an easy weeknight meal, right? So that's an easy way to do it. You can also just shred a head of cabbage. So we're going to use Christy. We're going back to the wonderful well for cooking keto with Christy. We're going to use her recipe for Crack Slaw. It's the most popular one on YouTube. So that's what we're going to do. Let's begin. We're going to brown this beef. Now, normally you were going to brown the beef and then add the vegetables there. What I'm going to do is brown the beef, set it aside, then brown the chicken, and then set it aside. Then cook the liquid ingredients with the cabbage, just for the purposes of us testing this. And then we're going to divide the cabbage mixture, and I'm going to add the beef and the chicken into each one, and then we'll plate them, and then we'll test them. All right? So let's see what's up. Now, you'll notice Christy's recipe that she uses bacon fat, and that's fine if you enjoy that. I probably would, but this was some pretty fatty ground beef that I've got, so I chose to omit the bacon fat in this. But I am going to add bacon fat to the chicken. The ground chicken is probably a lot of breast meat. I can just sort of tell by the color it's probably breast meat and not thighs or dark meat. So I'm going to add some bacon fat to that when we brown that for sure. Now, while that's browning, I'm going to prepare the coleslaw mix. Most importantly, a little sip of bourbon. Never hurt anybody. Now I'm about to take this up, and you would think that you would be tempted to drain this. And if you're eating low carb and not low carb high fat, you can drain that, but I actually am going to keep that in. That's going to create a lot of the sauce. I mean, I bought a fatty cut of meat on purpose. So that it could be used in this way instead of adding additional fat. You know, Christy added the bacon fat to her beef. And I could have bought ground chuck, but instead I bought ground beef. It's about 73%. I think it was 75%. So that's a lot of fat in that, but that's what we're doing here. This is keto. This is high fat, low carb, high fat, however you want to say it. So let's reserve this, and then we're just going to honestly use the same skillet and cook our chicken. Turn the skillet to the stove, and I'm going to reserve this and just move this out of the way so it's not becoming involved in any of our raw meat, because that is not a fun day. All right, so here's our bacon fat. Now again, at home, you're just going to be using one of these meats, whichever you like. I mean, I assume, unless you want to hold your own highfalutin battle at home and let the family decide which they like, or if you've got a person in the family who likes chicken and one who likes beef. Woo, that's hot. I'm going to turn that down. Shoo! Cooking the hell out of that chicken. Then you could split the recipe up this way. I'm obviously just doing this for the purposes of wanting to taste these two different recipes together and not have 27 servings of Crack Slaw around. Because 27 servings of Crack Slaw makes you a crack addict, apparently. I gotta say, I love a cast iron skillet, don't you? I mean, I'm not brave enough to scramble eggs in it or anything, but it just really holds a nice even heat. All right, that put out a lot of water. That's not fat, that's water. So I actually may drain some of that off. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to switch utensils now just for food safety sake. Hush. Great goodness. So I'm going to try to leave as much of this water as I can, probably leaving behind some of that precious bacon fat we put in there as well, but just a little too much water. All right, so we'll be back. Okay, so we're back now, and this is where you would already have your meat browned in your pan. You would leave the fat in the pan, and now you were going to add the coleslaw mix or your chopped cabbage to the pan. But since I browned two different meats and set them aside for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to add a little more bacon fat, just a little bit. That's about a teaspoon. And a little splash of water. That's just to loosen the pan up from where we cooked all that chicken, which is a little dry. So at this point, imagine that's your grease and your fat from your meat. We're going to add coleslaw mix. Now this can get a little rambunctious, but remember this is all going to cook down, so don't be too scared. I believe this was a 1 pound, a 16-ounce package of coleslaw mix. A lot of the recipes I've seen say get out of the way. A lot of the recipes I've seen say 14-ounce bags, and I didn't see a 14-ounce bag. So I got a 16-ounce, and we're making do. Okay, so now we're going to add all the other things that make crack slaw. And a lot of those are Asian flavors: ginger, garlic, Thai chili paste, some other things. So let's do this in order. We're going to do some dried onion. And this is dried diced onion, 1 tablespoon. The diced onion, because it's dried, it really absorbs a lot of the fat that you're cooking in and sort of rehydrates itself. Yeah, onions do have carbohydrates, but by using a concentrated form of them, you get a lot of the flavor without a lot of the just pure sugar that you would normally see. So let's just keep adding some of these things. I'm trying to turn this down a little bit. Salt. And this is a tablespoon of chili paste. There's about 6 carbs in this. So you're just using a tablespoon of it, but it gives a lot of flavor. So, and remember, this is going to be 4, possibly 6 servings, depending on how hungry or not you are. Just keep this moving. Okay, and this is toasted sesame oil. The toasted sesame oil is a little bit of a sticking point for some people. I mean, it obviously is a seed oil, which would have, polyunsaturated fatty acids, which you're not looking for. Those are inflammatory to a lot of people. But we're using a very small amount of it, and truthfully, that taste you get, that telltale Asian flavor, a lot of that comes from, in restaurants, comes from toasted sesame oil. It's just good, so we splurged. Now, here's where we add a sweetener to this. Christy uses sucralose, so I'm going to do it as well. I don't really know how much to put. She didn't really say. I'm going to add it to, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going to do that. You know, the teriyaki flavoring is what we're going for here. So I'm going to add it to our coconut aminos, the sweetener, and let's get that incorporated. Lastly, garlic, ginger. You can grate your own garlic and crush your own ginger, and that's what I would prefer to do. But again, this is a weeknight meal, so I used a minced jarred product of both of those. Don't tell anybody. I think this is where we can pull this off of the heat. I'm going to pull the cabbage off for now. And this is where, all right, because I'm doing 2 recipes, I'm really only going to use half of this chicken here. There's no need in wasting. I'm going to get that juice in there, though. Get in there. Again, you would have kept your meat. I'm making a mess. You would have kept your meat in the pan and cooked the cabbage on top of it. But for the purposes of today's demonstration, this is what we're doing. So I'm going to add the meat to this and get a decent little conglomeration. Looks pretty good. Looks interesting. It's not the prettiest thing in the world. Kind of reminds me of like chop suey, which I hate. All right, so let's add the ground beef to this one. Just about half of it. I'll reserve the rest of this and make another meal with this later. Get that juice in there. Okay. So let's combine that. All right, those look pretty. So let's plate these and see what happens. Okay, so here we are. We've plated our chicken crack slaw and our ground beef crack slaw. All right, so let's taste this. Let's do the ground beef first. That's the first one. That's the original one. Let's see. Looks good. Looks really good. And in that comforting soul food sort of way. Let's see what this is like. My first reaction, it's really tasty. I see why they call it crack slaw. The sugar, the sucralose, or the sweetener, whatever sweetener you've added, that makes a really teriyaki Asian flavor in this. I can see how this would be addictive, for sure. I could eat a pan of this. I've had one bite of it, and I can tell you I could eat a pan of it. Yeah. That's real good. I'm also going to say that the Thai chili paste is good, but you probably could have done the same with sriracha or a dried product, a dried Asian chili or something that may not have had as much sugar and carbs in it. There were definitely some compromises we made here in relation to ingredients. So if you are keto, some of those may not work. We obviously substituted soy sauce, and instead of using soy sauce, you can use tamari, but I just chose to avoid that altogether and use coconut aminos or liquid aminos, Bragg's liquid aminos. And the toasted sesame oil. That's a seed oil. It was literally just 1 teaspoon in the entire recipe, but the flavor it gives is really worth it. Okay, let's try the chicken. I'm sweating about it. Shoo. Okay. All right, let's try the chicken. Looks about the same. I mean, it all kind of has just this grayish, I mean, it looks good in that family casserole sort of way. You know, it's good. All right, let's see. Oh my God, that's good. That's really good. Ooh. Crack slaw is pretty crack-a-lackin'. You heard it here first. All right, folks, there's no winner here to declare except crack slaw in general. Go find a recipe online. I use Cooking Keto with Christie's because I know all of her food has been really good, but just go find a recipe and do it. This is the kind of thing that's a little bit more of a staple in your diet than the super fun recipes we've been doing before. Breads and biscuits and candies and cookies. Those are exciting and they're pretty and they look good on YouTube videos. But your day-to-day food, truthfully, of eating low carb, should be simple. And that's the thing that I struggle with as well. You know, just doing these recipes, I've stalled. My weight loss has stalled because, well, I've been making bread and biscuits and mug cakes and all of that in preparation for these videos. And that lets me know that that's something I can't do every day. But something like this, done smartly, is absolutely wonderful. But most of our food needs to be simple. It doesn't need to be cakes and breads and pies. But that's for you to decide. Crap, my battery just went dead right in the middle of trying to tell you about eating simply, which I guess was the internet's way of saying stop preaching and just let them go make some crack slaw. So you heard it here first. Crack slaw is crack-a-lackin'. We'll see you again soon. Now, if you liked this video, hit the like button below, or better yet, like this video and subscribe to our channel. These videos are a way for me to maintain my focus on a low-carb eating plan. I've personally experienced the weight loss and better health that a low-carb lifestyle can produce, so I appreciate you guys coming along for the journey. We make videos every week, so if there's a low-carb recipe out there you'd like me to try, let me know in the comments below. We'll see you again soon.